All right, welcome everybody to the Release 38 Postmortem Livestream. We had a ton of questions this time. We have 10 pages of community questions. We got the last ones in at just after 2 o'clock. If you just submitted one like 3 minutes ago, we'll probably answer that afterwards at some point. We'll try to get to as many as we can today. We have at least a couple hours here ready to focus on them. This is our monthly chance to reach out to you guys to say, hey, here's some answers from some of the questions and ideas and concerns and all the excitement from the release over the last few days since we released and what you're looking forward to. So we also will be, in addition to the questions that we already have, we also will be taking questions by Gina. Gina is ready to go on Discord, so please be in Discord to ask any questions that you have off the top of your head. We are running on Twitch right now, and we do monitor Twitch as much as we can as well, but please be in Discord. Also, be in Discord for a chance to get some really great prizes. So we've been doing this every postmortem. If you're just joining us new to the game, we also give away some prizes, and we have Lum who is taking care of those, and we have things like the small longboat and the Elder Fighter armor and some black and white squirrels. My favorite. They look so cute.
They're very cute. They are very cute.
So a lot of other cool items to give away, and we'll be doing that throughout. But to introduce ourselves, my name is Matthew Anderson. I'm the community manager here at Portalarium, and we have Star, who is the executive producer.
That's right. Hi. I'm Star Long. I'm the executive producer here on Shroud the Avatar.
And I'm Chris Spears, and I'm the technical director.
We also have with us long distance, Richard Garriott.
Indeed we do. Lord British here, normally roboting in from New York, but today hanging outing in from New York. Back to you, Lum.
And I'm Scott Jennings, Lum the Mad, also hanging out from Boston, not New York. I'm sorry, I'm just distracted by Richard's Ultima one that he's got running on his antediluvian Apple behind him on screen.
Yes, indeed, it is quite old. Gina, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey there, everyone. Gina Fire Lotus Dion here. I am hanging out with you from Alaska, which is probably the furthest and definitely the coldest place anyone is today. I'll be taking your questions live in chat starting right now.
All right, so welcome everyone to the postmortem. So release 38 was one of our largest releases ever. One of the measurements I like to make, since I have to write our release posts, is how many pages or how long it took me to write it, and it was over 20 pages long. So there was a lot of content in there. So it was multiple scenes, including one of our major expansions in PvP, which was Blood Bay, which included a lot of new technology. And I think I talked about that in our last community live stream, which is a tour of Blood Bay, about how even though that is a PvP scene, it's also a major proving ground for a lot of new technology you're gonna see propagating all over the game, not just in PvP scenes, including really high profile cool stuff like the moving platforms, of which you saw the giant airship moving around, but you're gonna see that in things like elevators and mine carts and all sorts of things like that.
That was a really fun live stream. Thank you for coming on that. We have those weekly now on Fridays at 4 o'clock. We're going to have one this Friday. We're going to tour another scene, but we may come back to Blood Bay at some point. If you missed last Friday's live stream, it is now on YouTube. You can go check that out, youtube.com/Portalarium.
Yeah, and things like a lot of gameplay effects triggered by areas of the map that I know Chris spent a lot of time working on, areas of the map that slowed you down, i.e. quicksand, areas of the map that increased magical effects or decreased magical effects, confusion effects.
Confusion was great.
Yeah.
It's for those who don't know, we have some visual metrics where you can go into maps and see where people are doing certain things, where people are fighting, gaining loot, gaining experience, and also we can see where players committed suicide. And it was fun looking at the map on Blood Bay to see all the people who committed suicide right around the confusion plants. For those who don't know, there's a very narrow path and rope bridges, and then confusion as well, which of course makes you move in the wrong direction. So it's good to see that those are working exactly as designed. People falling to their death all over.
All right, it also included another thing that Chris worked on was artifacts. So we introduced, very old, in the vein of fun magical items from the old days of Dungeons and Dragons, magical items that have really nice, strong bonuses, but also some interesting side effects that aren't so great. So there's a nice balance between the bonuses they provide. And so these were rare artifacts that you'd find from fighting creatures, loot on them, and so and a bunch of new potions, and it's part of just an overall effort where we're trying to increase the reward for going out and adventuring, and you're going to see a lot more of that every release, where we're really focusing on increasing both the challenge in areas of the maps and the reward. So the potions that we introduced, the recipes for those potions, the artifacts. Another effort that we're going to be doing over the next few releases is, we looked at maps where we've successfully been more successful at spawning creatures in them and less successful at spawning creatures in them. So one of the things we're going to be doing is looking at our higher level maps, our tier 5 maps, and putting pockets of much higher level creatures in them. So we looked at, one of the examples we looked at was Deep Ravenswood, where, in the middle of Deep Ravenswood were these really high level tier 10 liches. And so what you're going to see us doing is going around to all of our tier 5 maps and adding these pockets of really, really high level creatures, tier 6, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10 level creatures. And some of them will always be there, and some of them you will only be able to get to if you trigger certain events. Light a signal fire, trigger open a secret door, etc. And so you're going to see us starting to propagate those across multiple scenes. And killing those guys will in turn get you artifacts. And one of the things I'm most excited about is it's going to get you patterns, which I'm going to get to in a second. But before I get that, I want to make sure before I moved on to that, I want to Thexador, Markham wanted to make sure I reminded people that this Friday, is the deadline for the Iron Maiden Chemo Relief Fund GoFundMe campaign. And I am just incredibly amazed by the outpouring of support that this community has done for this campaign. It's just a testament to how amazing this community has. So for those of you who don't know, one of our community members, Iron Maiden, is going through a pretty rough time with some cancer. He happens to be a community member who has one of the largest holdings of goods of all, and so has this amazing amount of content, and to raise some funds to benefit, to help pay for his chemotherapy. The community has banded together to help him auction off all of his goods. And so Thexador has been leading the charge of this GoFundMe campaign, and they've raised quite a bit of money. The GoFundMe and we made a special cloak for that. This was in our weekly updates. We've also been donating. The developers have been donating some crafted items, so it'll have our crafted by tag. And I'm very proud of the fact that my crafted items are outselling Lord British's. So I've been giving him a very hard time about that. I just spent a little more time crafting them, because maybe, that's all.
I still need to craft some, by the way. I meant to get mine in earlier, so I may not get mine in.
And also, if I can jump in, start too, one of the things I'd like to point out about the list of amazing things you just went through is sort of where we are in a development cycle. I mean, since we are a game that you can digitally download on the internet, and even if you're playing solo player and offline could update over time, we will continue to be adding features and expanding this game forever. But we are now approaching a period of time, we haven't really announced sort of a version 1.1 launch date, but it is now approaching. And one of the things I think is exciting about that is you may have heard me say before that I think it's sort of the last 20% of the time that a game is in development, that 80% of the value of that game really becomes exposed. And I hope that you will see that here in these next few months, that the game is now going to, I believe, become much more exciting very, very quickly as these new things begin to, the fundamental systems are in place. We're now fleshing out all the details. I mean, I know there's, we were talking to somebody about farming a minute ago. We have lots of skills that still need filling out to make them work well. And we're now propagating all these special things like tricks and traps and the platforms you heard and the special effects that we were testing out in Bloody Bay. Those are already, starting to deploy very quickly in the rest of the game world. And I think you're going to be very pleased. I know I am very excited about how fast the quality of the game will be moving forward. And then, in some upcoming month, we're going to stick a fork in it and call it done for version 1.1, and then continue to expand and refine, beyond that point. But that's the point where we'll kind of invite in all of our friends who've been standing on the sidelines and waiting until we had a certain level of maturity. But anyway, that date is rapidly approaching. So I'm very pleased and excited and thankful to the team for getting us here.
Yeah, and so one of those new systems. Oh, and so one last thing about the Iron Maiden thing is this Friday night in Dawn's Keep for the end of the campaign, they're having a big telethon, 8 to 10 p.m. So please join them and help with the end of that telethon. Speaking of the end of, speaking of this cycle in our development and new features that are coming online, one of the ones we're working on for Release 39, and I just made a post in the forums about it, is a new game system that we're calling Patterns. And patterns are a way for players to take gear that they've made and give it a new visual. There are two ways you can get these. You can get them from the store, or you can get them in the game through drops. And the way you get them in the game is going out and fighting creatures. And if you get them, if you get a weapon from them, from their loot. So for instance, if you go out and fight bandits along the perennial coast who, starting in Release 39, will have katanas on them, you can salvage those katanas, and you have a chance on salvage to get what's called a pattern. You'll get a katana pattern. And you can use that pattern at a blacksmithing station to take your any two-handed sword that you've made and reshape it to look like a katana. You can, and we'll have that. So there'll be, every player will now start with these reshaping recipes that to reshape any item in the game, not just any gear, and eventually it'll expand to decorations. For Release 39, it's only going to be it'll only work for armor and weapons, there'll be levels of rarity associated with it. So things like the example I just gave, like a katana, that'll be fairly common, but the dastardly sword that Nefario, who's one of the Obsidian Kabbalists that you'll see in town sieges, that'll be almost impossible to gain. So you're going to have to, first you'll have to get him to show up in one of the town sieges. Well, you have to find one of the town sieges that's underway. You'll have to get him to show up. You'll have to defeat him. You'll have to get his, you'll have to, hope you get his sword, and then you'll have to salvage that sword from him. But once you get that, you'll be able to use that to change the sword that you're wielding, the sword that you use, your favorite sword, to look like his vile sword. But that'll be a pretty rare pattern. Now, those patterns that you find in the game, those are consumable, so they can only be used once. And once they're attached to that weapon, they're consumed. There are other. You can also purchase those kinds of consumable patterns on the store. Now, those look different than the ones that you find in the game, and our intention is to have at least as many patterns in the game as there are on the store. And remember, the patterns are just visual changes. So all the stats on your two-handed sword, all the enchantments, all those things are made. It's just a visual change. Same with armor. So if all of the enchantments, all the damage per second, all those values remain identical. It's just a visual change. Now you can get these patterns on the store as well. There's two kinds that you can get on the store. There's the consumable kind, just like in the game, where they're one use. But then there's also another kind that you can get from gear that comes as quote assembled. So, for instance, if you buy the Arteris Guard armor in the store, that by default comes as non-lootable. It doesn't take hits on maximum durability. And it has starter level stats. So, but if you want, you can salvage that, which destroys it. But when you salvage it, you get what's called an eternal pattern, and that eternal pattern allows you to make one piece of armor at a time that looks like that Arteris Guard armor, and so that preserves the rarity of the items. But you sacrifice all of the PvP protections, the lootability, the durability, all those things. But you now have gained the ability to use those visuals in crafting, and you can make one at a time. And when that item, if for whatever reason you want to use that pattern on another item, you can salvage it off that item, and you can do that an unlimited number of times. But only one at a time. And we're also going to add that eternal pattern to all of the previously purchased items, including expired items. So those of you who have armor and weapons from previously purchased bundles or pledges, even the expired ones, those eternal patterns are now going to be embedded inside those pieces of gear. Again, you have to choose to salvage them and therefore sacrifice their non-lootability and all that stuff. But you're now going to be able to use those visual variations in the crafting system, and you'll be able to take your founder armor, for instance, from those old pledges and use it in the crafting system to make cool gear.
And I'd also just like to add, very important, that I agree, Star does have an awesome mustache.
Kron actually asked related to that. Can we reshape Star's mustache with a pattern?
Yeah, well, I do play with the curl and the circumference of the curl, or the straightness of the curl each day. So
you can actually tell what mood he's in by the shape of it, how much he's been.
Right. Yeah.
Dastardly do right.
Yes.
Hey, remind me, a clarification on patterns. Is it accurate to say that, for example, if you have a one-handed weapon pattern, it can only be applied to one-handed weapons?
Oh, yes, that's a very good point. Thank you for reminding me of that. Patterns are restricted to use by type. So you cannot take a two-handed sword and make it look like a dagger. The recipes require you to use a two-handed pattern on a two-handed sword. So for instance, a katana is a two-handed pattern. So you can't take a katana pattern and apply that to a dagger. So that's a great point. And so to celebrate our announcement of the pattern system and its upcoming release in Release 39, we're having a big 24-hour flash sale on our website that it'll last till 3 p.m. tomorrow. So those of you who aren't getting to watch the postmortem live, we thought about actually just doing the flash sale for the length of the postmortem, but then we realized a bunch of people wait and watch the postmortem when they get home, and that kind of wouldn't be fair to them. And then there's time differences of like Europe and things like that. So we're running the flash sale for 24 hours. It's a big 20% discount. So it's all the items in the store that we hope to get patterns added to in Release 39 you'll be able to use patterns, and we'll have pattern packs for and things like that in the pattern system. So all the gear that you see in the game, all those things in the game. And so yes, and that means another big change related to that is a lot of the items that were previously only classified as clothing we're now going to allow to be used through the pattern system as cloth armor. So all of you that have been dying to use your wedding dress as a mage robe, that will now be, your dream has come true. You'll be able to fight in your wedding dress using the pattern system. So there's a 20% sale going on right now on all gear. Another celebration. Richard has it up on his screen. If we can show Richard's screen. Our very own Fletcher Skull Muncher Kinnear made this amazing ornate flamberge, which is a giant two-handed sword, that sword is up on the store right now. It's also part of this flash sale, and it's also going to only be on the store for a limited time through the telethon, so the spring telethon. So March 9th, it's gonna get removed from the store. So you can buy the sword, or you can buy a pattern pack. It's also the first pattern pack to go in the store. So you can buy a pack of patterns for it, or you can buy the sword itself. But it's a limited availability. It's only going to be available for 1 month now until the telethon.
And just to reemphasize, it's only changing the visuals.
Correct.
We're not saying you buy $20 or something and you suddenly are more powerful than anybody else in the game. So just changing the visuals. Yeah,
it's just a visual change because again, the crafting system already lets you determine all the combat values for your gear, and so that we're not touching any of that. All the pattern system does is allow you to change the visuals associated with it. So
I also want to bring up on the topic of pattern sets, I think it was Duke Avery mentioned something about having patterns so you can turn wands into like a hand fan, but I think that'd be great to have wands that you could turn into look, because some people want to hold an ankh, they don't want to hold that. And that's actually added in like ankhs, but ankhs and books and other things, basically, like
or a little one-handed hand fan.
But
that's
basically
a great
different
idea.
types of stuff. We've only been up to this point looking at the melee weapons, or is it melee?
Melee.
Okay, I'm gonna Google that one. We'll look it up.
It's melee. We had a big argument about flamberge.
Yeah.
Only because Rick trolled us and called it a flamberge, like a Fabergé egg, earlier this morning. So, all right. So the other thing that we did in R38 was we added water decorations, so the ability for you to put decorations on the water surface, of which we've only got a few done so far, but over time we'll feather in a few more. But it's already really cool because you can put little boats out, and people are already doing fun stuff like making like stair steps that you can run across the water with their boats. So in order to celebrate that, we're also having a flash sale on water stuff. So water homes, water decos, water lots. Again, it's a 24-hour sale. There you go. So those are those two. So 24-hour flash sale of water stuff and gear from now till 3 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. All right. So let me make sure I got all of my intro. One last intro item before we get to the questions, and we're going to get to the questions, I promise. Hey, we're not even at 30 minutes yet. That's good. I'm doing good on time with the intro. I thought I was going to eat up more time. All right. Spoon. Oh, I see Amber asking about the spoon. Oh yeah, totally. We're going to have to we'll give you a spoon pattern, I promise. All right. So let's see. Crawl. So in case you missed it on last week's update.
Melee. Melee.
There we go.
Aha! See, there you go. All right. See, he had to look it up. All right. So in case you missed it in last week's update, Crawl, which we had originally designated as a PvP area, we have been doing a lot of work. We were mentioning the work we've been doing to add higher level. Actually, wait, before I get into that, I was given this note: prizes We should do some prizes because it's almost been 30 minutes and we haven't done any prizes. Well, I don't know what you're thinking.
You are late.
You know what? The mustache is distracting me from prizes.
Yeah, I told you it conducts
Yeah.
electricity.
Yeah. All right. So prizes.
All right, prizes. First off, we're giving away.
Hold on. Wait. What is going on?
Fancy new website front page.
Dude.
Can I give away the prizes now, Chris?
There you go.
Are you done? Okay. So first off, we're giving away a small longboat water decoration for $5. That goes to Igus. And a set of Arteris guard armor for $20, worth $20 in the store. That goes to Soylent Green. And $10 store credit goes to Airy of LOD. And 10 Kodos goes to Celis. Congratulations to all you for your prizes this go around.
All right.
Congrats, everybody. Nice.
Okay, crawl. So we've been doing, like I mentioned, we've been doing work to add higher tier difficulty creatures in some of our higher level maps. That includes ruins and shard falls. We also have some work we're trying to do to make ruins and shard falls more rewarding in general. But what that led us to do was really look at our PvP spaces and realize that we have a good balance with the addition of Blood Bay that for now, not forever, just for now, we have a decent balance for PvP versus PvE spaces. And so we decided to make Crawl a PvE space with a connection to Skrek. And so there's going to be a long tunnel connecting Crawl to Skrek, which we've been jokingly calling the Crawl with a K apostrophe. The Crawl, which every time we say that, a little part of Lum dies. But the joke is that he's already dead, so he's already dead inside. So we're not sure what part is dying. But anyway,
you're just taking the necrotic bits at this point.
Okay.
Chipping away at the dead flesh.
Got it. So it's some sort of necrotic. Okay, got it. All right. So so it's going to be basically this is where they're the secret laboratory for Skrek. It's where they ship back all their bits of technology that they build, and it's where we're hoping to get some cool minecart rides that connects the two, because it's going to be a long distance and you don't want to walk, right? You want to ride. So.
And just for the record, the reason it was PvP fictionally, before there actually was a good reason, and that the backstory for it was this was outside the watchful eye of the Oracle, and they were reverse engineering Oracle technology. And so it needed to be a PvP area because it was outside the watchful eye of the Oracle. So I'm sad.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot of cool new creatures coming online for Crawl and the Crawl, and including all the cute little clockwork pets that people have. Well, what people don't realize those are the cute little versions of that the Kobolds made of their actual attack versions and guard versions that they made first. And so the Kobolds have these clockwork attack ravens, attack cats, and like the clockwork attack cat is more like a mountain lion size. And there's a clockwork attack dog, and the automaton, there's like this assassin automaton, and they're all this matte black, and they have like these stealth attacks and lightning attacks, and like we're doing like this thing with where they all sort of we're trying to simulate the behaviors of the source animals. So like the dog has this like charge and knock down and rend, so it's to simulate the dog grabbing you and knocking you down.
You're describing a really cool movie idea. I'd love to see that on the theater.
All right, sweet.
And also I'm trying to add some more stuff to the mechanical side of things. They'll be getting some resistances and actually have armor and some Right now, looking at adding in some effects, so if you use the wrong kinds of magic on them, like for instance lightning or something like that, it can actually do other stuff to them, like haste the mechanical creatures,
Yeah.
rather than kill them.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question by Angel. Can we get attacked while on the minecart? Off the cuff.
You can fight while you're on the minecart.
Yeah,
There you
totally.
go.
Yeah, people are already fight on the airship. So
Yeah.
And we're also getting the little shock monkeys that we introduced in last release. Well, there's multiple versions of those, including I think we showed this in the crawl preview and the weekly update, up to a troll-sized version that we've been jokingly calling Kong, K apostrophe Kong, again killing Lum slowly. And
Did you like my names for the other monkeys though?
well, I missed what were their names.
You didn't see the names, so now the shock monkeys are called this. There's now 4 variations. The basically tier 7 to tier 10. There's a tier 5, 7, 10, and then the boss. And they were, of course, Kong, and then the tier 10 one was Shock Monkey Gold, and there was a beta and alpha.
Oh, nice.
There's a Shock Monkey Alpha. See, they're all
They're all
prototypes,
software
they're all-
development. Yeah,
they're all
yeah, nice.
prototypes
Yeah.
of different
Cool.
Shock Monkeys that
Right.
they got right with Kong.
And all of these will be operated by the city kobolds. So the kobolds that everyone's seen in the game to date have been what we're now going to kind of call the kobold villagers. So the traditional sort of medieval fantasy kobolds that everyone has seen are the kobold villagers. Donkey Kong.
This is good. 'Cause
Yeah, Donkey Kong.
He wants him to throw rocks like the
I
troll,
totally do.
but
I
we
want-
should have him in a room.
Throw
with
barrels.
and
You should
he
throw
throw
barrels.
barrels at you.
Yes,
This
you
is
should
amazing.
totally throw barrels. This is great. Exploding
Okay, I'll
barrels.
zero that one.
Oh my God. All right. So now totally lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
I don't know.
Why Donkey
you
Kong
should
barrels?
just go jeer that up right
Oh
now.
my God. But what we're building for the cities for Crawl and Skrek are, and also the king of the kobolds, Kobar, are what we're calling the city kobolds. And so these are the ones that use and possess and invent the technology. So they're armored up, they have little bits of technology on them, because they're the ones who are inventing all this clockwork stuff. They're the ones who've made the radios, etc. So you're going to, and hopefully we'll get a post out this week that shows them, shows what they look like. So you'll get to see them. But in Crawl for R39 and hopefully in R40 we'll redo Skrek with these guys. But you'll see them, you'll see the city versions of the kobolds, or the tech versions of the kobolds, in other words, walking around with they're on patrols with their attack clockwork dogs, etc. So it'll be a pretty cool space with a lot of different mechanics to fight, and so very excited about it. So
I love what somebody said. Throw barrel mimics.
throw barrel mimics. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's really funny. Oh, we could reskin the barrel mimics to be like metal barrels, so they're clockwork barrel mimics. All right. So now we're gonna do some questions. Sorry that took so long, but there was a bunch of exciting stuff. We're really excited. There's so much cool stuff we're doing, and it really is, like Richard was saying, we're at this point in the project where we've got enough of these moving parts and pieces where they get into this sort of synergy where we can take like an existing creature or an existing set of art that we've made, and as they work together, we can leapfrog on each other and build more stuff faster than we've ever done it before. So we can build more scenes, we can get more creatures into the game, we can get more systems like this pattern system. I mean, this pattern system, used our crafting system, and it actually, we were actually kind of worried about how long it would take us to get in the game. And I think Joaquin spent like 4 or 5 days at most getting it up and running. And then the biggest part is going to just be putting all the data into the individual items themselves. We got all the recipes. Beezus got the recipes up and running over the last 4 or 5 days. So we've only spent about a week and a half, 2 weeks getting up and running. So again, it's this synergistic benefit of being at this point in the project. So it's a very exciting time.
And also now that that system's in there, I can go do stuff like maybe make it so you can break down artifacts and use it. Because I was just thinking there's the Ankh artifacts. If you want to tear down an artifact, maybe get a pattern out of that.
Oh.
And that's
Yeah.
a way that artifacts can get removed from the world. Then you can apply that to a wand.
Oh, and turn your wand into
Turn
an
your
Ankh.
wand into an Ankh.
Oh, smart. Cool. All right. Okay. So, Katrina Beckers, this is the, and I wants to know, and others. This is basically all the localizers and our players in other territories would love to know what's the status of localization. And I did promise that we'd start it again after Q4, and we were very hopeful that we would have another solution identified other than Git localization by this time. Unfortunately, there weren't a lot of so far we haven't identified anything any better or actually than Git localization, and Git localization wasn't very good. So we are still looking for a good solution there. And I really, really, really want something there. We really, really want to support our localizers. We really want to support our players in other territories. And we really want to get this up and running again as fast as possible.
And for those who are paying attention or those who were doing localization stuff before, the number of complaints we had about the specific software system we were using before was pretty much endless. And I think there was also a lot of flux at that time in terms of how much dialogue and how formats and just everything was changing around that was making it a little more painful for people. But we will get to it. There's a number of offline type systems like just data mining type stuff, exposing that to players so they can see things, and that's another one that will be another. We just need to make some time. We've got we talk about it all the time. Everybody on the team wears a ton of hats, but we still do have some bottlenecks in terms of some specific skill sets. So some of these things where you guys are like, this is important, do it now. Well, it is, but there's one or two people that are the best ones to do it. So we will get to it.
Yeah. All right, Egil. First says thank you for all the amazing hard work of the whole Portland team. You're welcome, and thank you for supporting us.
Next question.
Ask for, can we get a confirmation on expert crafting stations to buy on the store? Right now, we have no plans to sell those outside of bundles. That is only a bundle only item. So there is your confirmation. That is a bundle only item. Caladorn asks, will the deed raffles go until room rentals become available, or will they go right up to commercial release? Those of you who have been paying attention, or those of you who are new to the game, in addition to the ability to buy lot deeds from the store, which, as a reminder, water lot deeds are currently on a flash sale, 24-hour flash sale. But you can also, there's a lot deed raffle in the game, and we adjust that number based on current demand and the current number of lot deeds being used in the game, or lot deeds and lots claimed in the game. And so we've been slowly ratcheting down the number of lot deeds in that raffle based on that. We'll continue. Our plan is to continue to offer that, do the lot deed raffle each release and adjust that number dynamically. Right now, the demand is still pretty low, so you'll probably see that number continue to trend sort of at the low end for a little while until that demand goes back up. But we have no plans to discontinue that raffle in the near term. Let's see. Datendrach asks, will there be a way to gain Dev Plus access by either earning it through frequent bug reports or purchasing without a bundle? Honestly, I'd love to help out more, but I no longer need the bundles. That's a great question. We actually have a task in the backlog for that. It is dependent on some work that Tassilo is doing right now. He's doing a major refactor of our backend for our store. Those of you who read our stand-up notes, you may have seen there's a mysterious item that keeps getting mentioned that Tassilo is doing some store refactor. That's going to let us do a bunch of different things, and that's one of them where what we're planning on implementing is linking Dev Plus access, not just to specific bundle purchases, but also just to total dollars spent. So we're just going to we'll make it so, after you spend a certain amount of total dollars on the add-on store, that unlocks Dev Plus forum access, and therefore the QA servers. Let's see. This is a very important question from Trina. Will there be some emotes around eating and making Corpion claws, Novia's premier buffalo wing replacement? That's really, we'll make sure that gets put on the backlog because it deserves its own special eating animation, I think, not just a regular generic eating animation. In seriousness, we do not have plans for a specific emote or eating animation. In fact, I don't think we have any plans for specific animations for eating anything. Like eating anything looks like you're eating a turkey leg, whether it's having soup or eating a sandwich or eating a plate of anything.
That's how I eat my soup.
So at some point, though, we will probably, judging by the number of animations we have for other things that are so specific, we'll probably put unique animations in. So at some point in the distant future, we probably will have specific animations for that. Let's see. Aster Cerberus asks, the new chat UI is a great improvement. Is this still actively being iterated on, or is the current state where you expect it to stay, besides minor changes? It is still actively being iterated on. I don't think you'll see major changes this release because it's a short release, and the programmer working on this, Joaquin, had to work on patterns, and then he had to do some support work for the ability to save versions of your decorated house, aka Magic Mover stuff. But we do have more iterations planned on the chat UI. Although one thing that I know Richard and Lum have been working on is better keyword sorting, I think, for that interface.
Yeah, if I can talk to that, or Lum, I guess you could too. Sorry, Lum, if you were intending to. But as everybody, if you harken back to Ultimates, where you could ask name, job, health, and buy, and otherwise new keywords would populate based upon things you asked and they responded to. We're trying to make sure that things, once you ask them, get dimmed out and move to the back, so you've kind of been there, you've trodden that ground, and that new words that come up that are active kind of get moved back to the front, and we think that'll help you navigate through it in a more logical fashion. And by the way, if that's not the perfect solution, we'll keep iterating. A lot of people have been pushing for, even I think Lum prefers vertical over horizontal. I'm a horizontal over vertical person. But don't be shocked if some of those kind of variables change, or we might provide some options or whatever else it is. But this is a work in progress. We think we're confident in the direction this is going, but it's still in progress. And the same thing's true, by the way, for we're looking at some modifications of task list displays and other things to help people navigate conversation and quests a bit easier. So we're playing with a handful of things there. Many of which you'll see in interim solutions in the next few releases.
Cool. I think we need more prizes.
Yeah, and as a reminder for everybody, please be in Discord with your forum name or character name so that we can award you and find you in-game for these prizes. All the prizes we're giving away today are in-game prizes.
All right, we have a $10 store credit winner, Chic80. 10 Kodos is won by Skiz. A 3-pack of Sigil Cloaks worth $25 in this add-on store is won by Opal Luna, Samantha. And finally, perfect timing, a 2017 Valentine card 5-pack is won by Duke Nukem. That's it for this round.
All right.
Go Duke.
All right. Elfinwan asks, will we make another rework on the targeting?
So this is wins the award for most vague and open questions. I'll just use it as a chance to talk about it. So we've continued to work on targeting stuff. There are still some bugs when I play in terms of how I wish things worked a little better in terms of targeting pets and targeting party members and losing the current target without having to hit escape and then F1. But in general, I think the targeting works pretty well right now. Maybe people in chat, if they have some specific stuff, they can give me feedback on their concerns with targeting, and I can talk about it again in a bit. But right now, other than that, the next target stuff should work pretty well. I'm sure I'll get some feedback here, but again, pretty vague question, so I don't know how much to answer on that.
Say yes or no.
No.
Next question.
All right. All right. Phil Scott asks, do we have an ETA on scripting in the game? I believe that Lua as the language was mentioned in one of the Hangouts.
Yeah, we continue. This is one of those things that we want to do once we get to live, not before. We don't want to rush it in, and things are still going to be in rapid iteration before we get to live. And yes, it will be Lua, and what we expose is kind of the tough part. I think I've mentioned it before that there's systems in place so we could actually expose everything to you really easily, which of course would be insane. So really the challenge with it is just going to be figuring out what things we do expose to you, what things we do not expose to you. I expect before we have Lua in game, we'll have some outside data mining stuff for you. But we do plan on getting Lua exposed to you guys so you can actually control some things. But ETA is, we'll say, release plus 2 to 3 months.
Okay. And similar question from Phil, what is the ETA on the external and game scripting APIs? It's the same answer, or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Mad Hatter asks, can we get a ringtone noise when someone messages you? I miss the chat sometimes. Yeah, having some sort of sound when you get a whisper sound cue would be good.
And this is also why I want the chat to be not just tabbable, but be able to pull out separate tab windows. Because if you have any chat in your combat log, you basically just can't do that.
Yeah.
It's like chat just vanishes in there. So having a separate tab or window where it's like, this is my party chat. I don't want to miss it. I want to be able to scroll back. This is my combat chat. I want to see that fly by. But just so I can watch my criticals and pat myself on the back and all. But yes.
All right. Damien asks, will we ever be able to see our hands, arms, weapons in first-person view? Well, will we ever? Sure. Ever? Sometime, yes.
Release 1.1, likely not.
But yes, at some
Very
time,
for it, however, for post 1.1.
yeah, at some time in the future, yes, we would like to support a true first-person view versus a just invisible you first person. But yeah, so sometime in the future, yes. Duke Avery, can we add a display mode that only shows the combat bar and nothing else? Literally nothing else. Like, what does that mean?
UI and the party, your own health.
Like,
That's for the hardcore immersive guy that wants nothing, doesn't want to have anything up there. Wouldn't be that hard. It's just one of those things that probably can go on the backlog, and because that's
yeah, I mean,
pretty limited
sure.
audience item.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean,
We could probably move to, is it F9 that toggles this everything visible, invisible?
Yeah.
and have a,
And just have it F9, 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 and one just shows you the bar at the bottom, and then the next one makes them all vanish.
yeah,
Something like that.
something like, yeah, maybe. Yeah, sure.
First time I've heard that request, so.
Yeah.
And did you mention that we did not have time to go over these questions?
Oh yeah. So yeah, we forgot. We were supposed to mention this after that. Normally, we go through all these questions beforehand and give ourselves a little bit of time to prepare answers and kind of. But since R39 is a short release, we didn't prepare ahead of time. So we're answering these live. So if we seem kind of befuddled on some of these, that's because we're just answering these live, cold, because we're so busy. All right.
Agile. The word is agile.
Agile, with a capital A. Elusive Illusion. How soon will sync issues with multiplayer music playback get fixed or receive some time and attention? So the only issue we're aware of with music right now and that we were able to verify is that certain rests, certain songs with rests in them aren't treated correctly. And we know that issue, and we're looking at that one. But that's the only issue we know associated with music playback. So but if there are other music playback sync issues that we don't know of any other than that one. But we're definitely looking at the issue associated with rests, and we know about that one. And we hope to have that one fixed this release. All right. Let's see. Macnios and others ask, please introduce some type of in-game bulletin board like we had in UO. Want to be able to share and update information with players and guildmates. We absolutely want to have something like that. We agree. I don't have an ETA, but we totally want that. Datendrosh and Inlight and others ask, is there any plan to implement some sort of mail messages or other delivery system or chat log that allows us to leave messages for players that are offline? Well, yes, we definitely want to. We're going to have a mail system, and that is on our short list of features we want sooner rather than later for community and social. So, absolutely.
Even as a dev, it annoys me that we don't have something like, for instance, the crafting items for the Iron Maiden auction stuff. I'd love to just be able to craft them and to get on and email them, mail them in game, pay a few gold or whatever it costs to get it to them, and then not have to worry about trying to sync up with them.
Yeah. And speaking of things on our short list, Carlin, the Druid Archer, asks, is there going to be continued work on the experience from a new player perspective? And yes, absolutely. I think one of our biggest issues is the onboarding of new players. The game is still very confusing and unfriendly. And once you get past that initial experience, and you learn how the game is played, it's not that bad. But getting over that first initial learning curve is quite challenging still. And so we are definitely aware of that, and we're working on it, and it's on our short list to fix.
And we do appreciate all the players who have their names tagged Hospitalers in the game, helping out those new players that are lost and asking questions. I'm wandering around the game, and I'll see Hospitalers helping new players on a daily basis. So we really appreciate that while we ramp up and improve the new player experience.
Yeah. Let's see. Imp Strike, and I think Matthew, you wanted to talk about this one, asked what recent initiatives have been put into place to help communications between the devs and the players.
Right. So like these postmortems, we have these every month, and these are focused now to answer questions that you provide us, that you're providing us right now in chat. And there are other initiatives like that. We just started just before the holiday break last year, the community live stream on Fridays to make it a little more, off the cuff, fun chance to connect with the community in game. So it's mostly in game. We're walking around meeting new players, answering questions still on chat like we're doing here. And we also have spotlights, regular weekly community spotlights. So if you have a player on town, you have a guild or another group that you would like to spotlight, please let me know. I am Berek in the forums, BEREK, and you can PM me any ideas there or your spotlight, and we'll announce it. We'll add your community events as well to our community event calendar that's on the front page. And so there's a lot of opportunities to connect with players outside of the game as well, and part of my job to facilitate that. So let me know when you have something.
All right, let's see. Damien and Lace both have questions about Guild Alliances and Guild Alliance chat system. and we had mentioned these a while back, and then we had delayed them, and they're asking about ETAs on those. And so we don't have an ETA on getting those back on the schedule. You know, they're not in our Q1 schedule. They might be on our Q2 schedule. We haven't built our Q2 schedule. We won't build that till next month. Until then, we don't really have an ETA on those. But we do recognize, we recognize for sure the need of larger group communications, whether it's groups of groups or a raid type communication system, and definitely some sort of communication system or alliance system between guilds. We know that those are important for the social fabric, and so all of those are definitely on our roadmap long term. As to when they would get in the game short term, we don't have any ETA, but they will. All of those will happen at some point. Let's see. Drokus, Baron Drokus Fondorlatos asks, are there any long-term plans to prevent hoarding of resources?
Making them valuable enough so people want to use them and sell them?
Yeah, a lot of that, a lot of that is tied to population. A lot of that is human nature. Players just hoard. I mean, that's always, part of that, there's really literally nothing you can do from a system side to prevent it. But a lot of it is just population and a drive, getting a nice cycle in the economy going that will drive some of that.
To try to clear up some of that, that's part of why in R38 I added all those potions. I'm going to continue to add some more consumables release by release, and I think there's questions coming up on it, but also making it much easier to use consumables so people actually churn through them. And also taking a pass on in R39 on potion production, which will probably just, the short version is probably, the recipes will remain unchanged, but it may produce more than one potion per recipe.
Brown Coat Jason asks, can we get some numbers on how many artifacts were collected so far? What's the most and least common? And while Chris looks that up, unless he already has that data.
Oh, I got it.
So Chris is going to tell us all about it using data.
So I was actually expecting people to be a little excited about artifacts, but it's been amazing how excited people were about artifacts, and just talking to people and seeing what people are actually doing, and basically changed the behavior of a good number of people on the server in terms of what they were doing, because they were starting to get just start hunting for artifacts and trying to figure out the best place to find them.
And I gotta say too, I was pretty excited when I was playing in Bloody Bay for the first time and came across this person in green, and I had never seen or heard or could conceive of how this had happened. And it was only a little while later that I figured out it was one of these. And anyway, I thought it was really cool when I began to realize those were going in the game as well.
Yeah, and these were, so Star knew they were going in, but they were just kind of something that I said, I'm doing this, and Star said, okay, go do it. And so Richard kind of heard about a lot of it probably semi after the fact, because I said
as in when it was in the game already.
And I think the one he's talking about is the Ring of the Frogkin that turns you green and lets you jump a tiny bit higher. And
what could go wrong?
Yeah, the specific reason why I didn't tell him about that is I don't want him to tell me that we can't have green people in game. It's fun. It's great for parties. But that one also, I made sure that the ring gave you just enough extra jumps so you can jump on top of people's heads, which is what people were doing with it. So, anyways, back to the artifact stuff. So as many people know, they were at a higher drop rate for the first day or two, and then they got turned to the actual drop rate that they're at now. The total number of artifacts that have been dropped, minus dev, is just over 1,000 total artifacts. There's a lot of information on those. I know some people like Umuri and a few others are basically trying to catalog and identify rarity and other type things. But there are multiple tiers of rarity, so some of the things you find are fairly common. And then there's a few artifacts like, let's see, like Golden Onks is one of the ones that is a little more rare, and the I think it's Belt of the Brutal Butcher, and there's a few other type things that are in there. Frogkin rings, anything that changes your appearance, like the Lich and the Frogkin, those are more rare. Whereas like there may be 20 total Onks in the entire game, and then there's Ring of the Gambler, which should be fixed as of the latest patch. There's 100 of those out there, so there are different levels of rarity in terms of things. There's about 20 artifacts out there this release. I hope to get plenty more in the next few releases and just sneaking them in so players can look forward to seeing and being the ones to discover various artifacts. Also going to take a pass at making them. Right now there's just kind of some generic loot bundles that I put on things that seemed valuable, but some of the artifacts will be moving, so they only drop off of these type things. And there'll be some artifacts that only drop off specific mobs or in specific scenes or even at specific time of day, and those type of changes going in. So I'm going to try to get a little more polish on that type of stuff. But the answer is just over 1,000, with the most common being the Ring of the Gambler, followed by the Ring of Luck. I was going to see... Oh, and that's another one that kind of snuck in there was... I told Star I was going to do it right meow and get them in there. I was trying to get in the text filter stuff in there for people who played with the Cat's Grace or Necklace of Civility or some of the others, which is kind of funny because the Necklace of Civility is actually one of the few items that doesn't have a downside except for the text filter part. Anyways, look forward to more of that type stuff in the next in upcoming releases.
Nice. Speaking of specific ones, some of the ones that we're going to try and get in for this release are some PvP ones.
Yeah, there'll be some PvP things that will be showing up that will only drop in PvP scenes. It'll be PvP specific.
Yeah.
So players will actually have reasons to farm creatures in PvP scenes, and there's actually some other mechanics that will go along with that. But hoping to get that in. Definitely we'll get in some PvP specific artifacts this release. But also hoping to get in a few new PvP mechanics that we won't talk about just yet, because they may or may not make it.
Right. Well, we might get the Obsidian Golem boss, maybe?
I'll definitely get some boss types in there.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how they get there.
All right, cool. Browncoat Jason also asks, he says, the Shogun bundles look great. What is the next bundle theme you have planned? We're currently not actually planning on doing any more bundles anytime soon. We are shifting those resources towards doing just some more individual assets and more game-specific stuff. If we do another bundle, it would probably be a bandit/pirate bundle. So that would be sort of a brigand bundle theme. That would be the next theme that we've talked about. But we probably won't do a bundle anytime soon. We feel like we have a good spread of themes right now. But if we do one, that would be the next one.
The community says we're good on bundles. We need more prizes.
Oh, prizes! Yes, let's do some prizes.
Well, okay. Well, I don't have any bundles, but I do have prizes. So, $10 store credit goes to Dreams. 10 Kodos goes to, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, Natars. And gondola water decoration worth $5 in the add-on store goes to Aurelius. And finally, a 2017 Valentine gift box 3-pack worth $20 goes to Reina Ina. And thank you for this round of prizes.
All right, congrats. 3-pack. Wow.
All right. EMP Strike asks, why don't you have the lesser recipes available on merchants instead of regular recipes? Right now, I think the lesser recipes are on drops versus on merchants.
Yeah, for those who didn't, who weren't paying attention, we controlled the rarity on those. This was Star's design, which I put in as is because for once, we agreed on something that the lesser ones drop at a similar rate to the rarer ones, but the difference is the lesser ones are reteachable. The medium power ones are teachable, and then the very powerful ones are only the person who reads it gets it. So the lesser ones are reteachable, so those should spread pretty quick if people are getting together. I know for a long time people were doing various orgies of getting together and teaching each other stuff, but I'm not sure if there's.
Yeah.
That was a emote thing. There's many emote orgies. I'm not sure if people still hold those or if they've spread around enough.
Yeah, we were thinking that versus putting them on merchants, making them reteachable and making them drop would have them spread around pretty quickly. But if they're not spreading around quickly enough, then we can put them on merchants. I mean, that would be. Really, it was a combination of, making it a discovery and a social thing, and also just a speed of implementation, because we were already in the loot bundles for those other ones, and it was just a speed of implementation versus having to open up the merchant bundles and swap those out. So that's all. Merv de Griff, will there be versions of Ignite weapon for other elements? And what is the intended function of Ignite weapon? So I guess what he's asking is, will there be like a
Freeze my weapon.
Yeah.
or add shock weapon like in each school? We don't currently have plans for those things, although one thing that's in the backlog is adding an enchantment effect that adds the damage type to the weapon. So like if you use if you add an air gem to your weapon, you can add lightning damage to the weapon. We haven't done that effect yet, but we don't currently have any plans to add a turn on lightning on my weapon like we have an Ignite weapon. And the intended function of Ignite weapon is to add a temporary fire damage dot to your weapon. That's the intended function of it. So it's basically the equivalent of rend, but with fire, right? It adds a dot, fire-based dot versus a physical-based dot. So,
Hey, Lord Internet threw out a question I thought was important to put in about the stuff that's on special. Will the water items that are on special be reflected on Kodo merchants in addition to the website, or do people need to buy it on the website?
Only on the website. Not the sales only on the website. It's not in the game.
Thank you.
That is a good question. So, point of clarity, the flash sale is only on the website. And by the way, that, depending on how many crowns you purchase at a time, that discount is basically already reflected in your crown purchases if you're purchasing crowns in bulk. So, all right, Merv de Griff, dyes for leather armors and paint dyes, enamels for chain and plate. Is there an ATA for these? No. But it's definitely something, again, it remains on our,
You'll get it eventually.
Yeah, it remains on our backlog. We still want to support it, just not in the near term, but definitely in the long term. Dackett asks, and I know you want to talk about this, Chris, can we get a potion or consumables ability bar, maybe 3 or 5 slots, smaller than normal quick bar? We now have a lot of consumables and we are making, he doesn't say this, but I'm going to say it, consumables are now way more important.
Especially like going back to BDF's question about people hoarding various resources and things like that. That's one of the big ways to get things cleaned out is have consumables that people actually can go through. Part of it is adding new consumables. We did that last release. But the other part is making it so it's easier to use. Taking up spot in your hotbar right now is kind of valuable real estate. And we want to make consumables as easy to use as possible. So that's why we are talking about and hope to find a way to sneak in possibly this release, may not make this release, but definitely within a release or so, a extra hotbar that is purely for consumables. so that they're easier to use in combat, which the people who should be cheering the most on that should be the crafters out there. Sure, everybody wants them, but as we continue to add them, because another thing that's coming up this release related to consumables is I hope to get this in. Again, I always pile a ton of stuff on myself, so sometimes things slip. But getting in a poison rework. So changing poison weapon so that poison weapon will become a passive skill. It'll still be there. It'll just be the passive skill rather than the active skill. And then the poisons just become consumables that then are used, and the effectiveness of the poison is based on your poison weapon skill. It'll probably just be, for most of them, it'll be the duration or the number of hits that you get out of each poison potion. So poisons become consumables, so you could have 3 or 4 different poison types. And then the poison weapon skill determines how powerful they are.
Okay.
That's me veering off topic.
All right. I'm actually going to swap over to some chat questions from move away for a little bit from the questions we got previously. Baron Drocus Vonderlatus
Just
asks,
call them BDF.
BDF
Everybody
asks,
knows BDF.
when will rogue patterns be in the game? So there will be patterns for some of the existing robes in R39. So like the Elven Elder Mage robes, for instance. And like I mentioned at the top of the hour, anything that was previously classified as, quote, clothing, most of that now will be able to be used by the pattern system. You'll be able to salvage many of those items and use them as either, most of them will be cloth. You'll be able to use them as cloth patterns for cloth armor. A few of them will count as leather armor, like a few of them have leather boots or things like that, but some of them will be leather armor as well. Scoffer Kata asked, was the change to focus regen intended? On QA, Star posted that it was a bug, but it seems to have gone through live. Well, there was a bug on QA, that bug at one point, that bug got fixed, but the focus to regen was intended. We did intend to reduce focus regen because managing focus there was no managing of focus.
Yeah, it was basically the point that people could you could spam endlessly and never think about it. When something that, it could have come down to basically if we didn't change it to reduce it, it just needed to be removed because it wasn't actually a factor that people paid attention to. So I've posted a few times on this. It's a very hot topic. Some people saying it's too high, it's too high, it's too high, and then some people saying it's too low, it's too low, it's too low. I think the common element with those, and I've made a post on this, and I think some of the people who were screaming most loudly saw it, is a while back it was changed so that the focus use scales up with the skill level on some things. And I think that might be scaling up a little too quickly. Now this catches some of those people who have really, really high skill levels off guard. Of course, they're getting extra powerful skills because they have high skill levels. But I think they're the ones because that is scaling up at a rate that is greater than the amount of focus pool, and then the amount of your focus pool determines how quickly you regenerate because it's based on a percentage in general. The base free focus regen is based on a percentage. So anyways, more iteration coming. It's definitely closer, but as I mentioned, there's a few things left to look at. So for those who are suffering and feeling completely out of focus, give it another release or so, and we'll see how things shape up in the next one after I go and modify the focus formula a little bit.
All right, Merv DeGriff asks, again, this is from chat, for the pattern system, will other pledge weapons get eternal patterns as well? Example, like the ornate katana and the vile obsidian mace. Our plan is all purchased weapons and armor will get eternal patterns, including expired armor and weapons. So yes, the ornate katana, the vile obsidian mace, but literally every single purchased piece of armor and weapon will get an eternal pattern. And our goal is to have most of that done in R39. We may not get to every one of them, but our goal is to get most of them done in release 39. All right, I'm going to answer one more from chat, and then we're going to switch back to the ones we got before. Sir Grant wants to know if we can get polearm combos.
You need lots of combos.
Yeah.
I do have it on my list again this release to do some combos. Actually, at some of Richard's requests, I'm going to go in and tune some of the ones that are in there. I'm hoping to add new skills, as I've already mentioned a few times. I pile a lot of stuff on myself that's just random and needs to get done. But the new skills I was planning on adding for this release were actually going to be some moon magic stuff, so that they actually have a few more active skills and attack spells. So may not get to the combos. I will be tuning up some combo stuff. Hey, we're in a selfie, guys.
Doing a selfie. Continue.
But yeah, so sometime soon, yes. The other thing we have is we're doing some major animation changes this release. We're going to be tight on animation time, and then also our particle effects guy is in and cranking away and basically identified the 27,000 particle effects that he needs to create, and he's on like number 100. So he's got a little ways to go, but he's actually cranking through things and making things look amazing. So.
All right. Macnos wants to know on what levels are the rare loots dropping? Is it really only level 5 skull zones, or is it some graduated scale based on difficulty?
It is a graduated scale. They actually start at T3. I think most people have talked about this and been working on figuring it out, but it's T3 and above can drop. The odds go up a little bit each increment from like T3 to T5, and then there's kind of a big jump. There's not too many places in the game with T8 and T10 stuff, which is why you'll see a lot of people have been hanging out and dying like mad in the Rise, is because they know there's a lot of high tier creatures in there. Also, caster types are more likely to drop artifacts than melee guys. Melee guys are more melee guys are more likely to.
You're banned from the live stream for that.
Are more likely to drop potions and, but they also have a artifact drop chance. But no, T3 and above can drop, but also there's some things, there's kind of multiple different tiers. As I mentioned, there's kind of 3 different tiers of artifacts, from the kind of just the gag level, or, oh my god, why would anyone wear this type level, to the, okay, it's decent, to the ones that are actually pretty powerful, or have visual effects or other elements to them. But those also have different rarity, and some of those will only drop. The rare ones will not drop at T3 or T5. You have to get all the way up to T8 before you get to the rare set. And then, of course, obviously, boss mob type stuff has a order of magnitude better chance of dropping things. Actually, in some cases, several orders of magnitude better chance of dropping some things. And I did get a chance. Some of the named boss mob type guys in the world do have a specific drop or two that they're much more likely to drop than anything else in the game.
All right, I think we need some more prizes.
Yes, prizes. Do we have any more left, Lum?
Well, just make more. First, we have a $10 store credit for Flexerome. 10 Kodos goes to Cartadude. And this time, we're giving away squirrels!
Yay,
Black squirrel goes to... Well, yeah, I'll tell you if you'll let me finish. A black squirrel goes to Natasha Tara, SOV. And a white squirrel goes to Sinesh Kasigal. And finally, a set of Elven Elder Fighter Armor, which goes for $20 in the add-on store, goes to Lace. And that's your prizes for this round.
Congrats, everyone. All right. We have another 40 minutes, and then we will be out of time. And we still have tons of questions. So we are not going to get to all the questions. But as we do now, do not fret if your question does not get answered, because Chris and I will take the time.
Hours and hours of time.
It will take hours and hours, but we will take the hours and hours of time to make sure that we answer all the questions that we do not get to in the Hangout. So fret not. All right. Infernal asks, if you get around to doing another pass on Death Magic, can you add abilities to drain the life from a minion and heal yourself?
I've considered that. having a way that you can basically sacrifice a pet. I know that's something that happens in other games, making it sacrifice a pet basically as a focus, because it does pull focus off you, it does drain. But anyways, I've considered it. I just haven't had time to get around with it. And also, the trees that need more love right now, death magic is probably fire and death magic don't need much more love. Many of the other schools need far more love, but actually air, fire, and death magic don't need much love. Most of the other ones need far more love. So yes, it's a good idea. Yes, I probably will do it at some point. Probably not in the short term though, just because other stuff needs more love.
All right. Minshi asks, will the Ren combo saw blade sweep and hamstring get 3 stacks like Ren?
It should. It's one of those. I miss the combos a lot of times. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be taking a pass on making the combos more effective for this release. I'm probably not going to have a chance to add more combos, but I will at least do the pass to make sure that they are caught up to the effectiveness of the other skills, and that's one I just missed.
All right. Okay, Mission asks, when will we know that focus and fizzle chance changes, usage and regen are pretty well set?
For those who didn't know, fizzle change also changed this last release. The big thing was if you'd had a two-handed weapon, actually there are a couple of big things. If you'd had a two-handed weapon, you were getting a bonus for having an open offhand, which we kind of said was a bug we were leaving alone, but it really was it was really unfair. And also two-handed weapons are right now very much overpowered as we continue to try to make shield and a weapon two-handed and also dual wielding, making them all equally cool. That was just one of those things there was no way to match that in terms of coolness, and so we went ahead and did remove the extra freehand penalty off that. Also, open hand moved to a 10% bonus so that we can move wands and staves up to be a larger bonus. And also the math for the armor changed in terms of how much fizzle, just basically the order of operations on the math. So I think the absolute worst case was people could have lost about 25% fizzle chance, which is huge. If you're going from 0 to 25% fizzle chance, that's a massive change. But anyways, I think they are getting closer. While I consider these fairly big changes this release, I think like I said, the focus will be minor changes going forwards and hopefully less painful changes. It'll be improvements on the people who are suffering the most right now. But it may still come down a little bit more as we continue to move things around. And also, again, making sure consumables are meaningful and also available is another one of those things that we may end up adjusting focus regen rates to push people to make sure they're eating food, which makes Richard very happy when people have to eat food. And also drinking potions, which makes all the crafters very happy when people have to drink potions. So
Here.
again, minor modifications. We probably won't see any bigger modifications of what we just had.
All right, Trevor says and asks, archers and mages are deadly. Shield skills, resistances, parry, and other defensive skills do not seem to be functioning well. What skills will help melee characters compete?
I do have on my pass this release the shields. Some parts of it are working in that you can block the correct stuff with it now, where you can block arrows, you can block other stuff. The effectiveness when you do block is kind of poopy right now. It's a fixed number. It's not really tied to anything. So I'm going to try to move that to actually be a more meaningful number so that you can actually block more than, I think shields only block about 20 points of damage, which sounds like a lot when you're level 30 or something like that and holds up okay in a tier 5 zone. But when you get up into now where people are trying to, like as I mentioned, farming the rise, and I know some of those archers hit for 100 points of damage or more, having a shield that stopped more than 20 would actually be amazing because 20 is not cutting it. But anyways, I will be taking a pass on that, try to make that scale up for this release. No, because I've been playing for those who've been in the rise. I've been in there trying out different builds, and basically I cannot find a way to survive in there with a cloth build. Try as I might. I see people in there doing it. I can't do it.
All right, what types of attacks, this is Trevor again, what types of attacks does avoidance avoid? Many attacks ignore the avoidance percent.
That is actually set on per attack. And what I've realized just recently is there's a number, while most player-to-player stuff is set correctly, player-to-player attacks is set correctly for avoidance. Most creature things are not. Avoidance should still give you moves you to glancing blow chance, like having a high damage avoidance percentage gives you glancing blow. So I will look into the creatures, make sure they're all set right. I think some of the old ones were set right, and we just haven't been updating the ones as they've been getting added. So it should be working as expected, hopefully, in R39. Did I mention I pile a lot of stuff on my plate?
Yeah.
Dude, what are you doing here talking? Get to work, man. I hope you're coding on that computer.
Juzzy asks, why can't you target a stealth blurred person, attack them, shooting or swinging in the blurred area should hit them?
So if you're using anything should be hitting them except range things. There's the stealth percentage. If you see there's a number like 90% stealth or something like that, I think we showed as percent. That actually is the delta for the range at which you, or the multiplier for the range at which you can target someone. So if they're 90% stealth, then you can normally, I think normal targeting range is like is it 40? So you could target them at 4. So you can target them. It's just they may be really stealthy. It reduces the range at which you can target them. You won't be able to shoot them with your bow unless you've targeted them, I believe. Actually, I think you can free attack them with your bow. Auto attack won't go off unless you target them. You can still use G or tap or whatever you use for targeting to target them if they're within that range as well, the auto target, which is something people have wanted to kill, but actually just because it is a much shorter range, you kind of have to see them there, and the trying to make you click on someone, especially if somebody's at a low frame rate or somebody's moving fast or whatever, it gets really painful if you have to try and click on them. So being facing them and hitting G is acceptable in my book for targeting someone. But again, it's only when they get within the range based on the stealth amount. But also any attack that is kind of AE focused, which actually all melee attacks are, and also many of the skills are. And there's a number of magic skills like the fist type stuff, those things are all. But those should hit somebody who's stealth. I'm sure people in chat will correct me if I'm wrong. But so yes, it should be. You may have just been going up against somebody who had a really high stealth and was a little too far away.
Yeah. All right. Juzzy also asks, will there be fishing uniques like in UO, paintings, containers, SOS stuff, etc.? Yes, long term, absolutely.
There's already one or two things in there because we threw at least one.
There's a ring.
There's a ring on there. Trying to see.
I don't think there's anything else other than the ring.
I don't think I see that the ring. I don't think it's dropped yet.
Oh, we should maybe add some artifacts into the.
No, there's already one in there.
What? There's an artifact now in the ring in the fishing system? What?
Somebody else added it, not me, but there was supposed to be a artifact that's added into
What?
it. And it looks like it's not showing up there.
So no one's found it yet.
Umuri says it is there. It's a necklace and a ring in there.
Umuri
there
found
it is. Okay, yeah, there is. It is there. Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the more common ones. It's going to be found on creatures and found fishing.
Oh, okay. All right. Sarah Dragon asks, does the blade speed innate skill affect either glyph speed or glyph cooldown, or just how fast you can swing the sword with auto attack on?
I'm trying to remember. I believe it's just the auto attack and free attack. So it is the how quickly you swing your sword with auto attack. It is also if you are free attacking and you charge up your bar, it controls the speed at which you charge up the bar. I don't believe it works on the skills, but honestly, I don't remember. I remember having a discussion about it. I don't remember which we decided. I do know that it affects the rate at which you charge up your free attacks. For those who don't use free attacks, that's actually one of the better DPS things is it actually does increase your DPS slightly if you charge fully before swinging each time. And also, by the way, doesn't use focus for those out there complaining about focus use. Just saying. But yes, I know it affects at least those two. I honestly don't remember, and as we mentioned, we didn't have time to prepare here, so I couldn't go back and look at the code real quick.
All right. Sarah Dragon also asks, pole arms and bludgeons still seem drastically underwhelming when compared to blades. For diversity, can the balance of these three schools be revisited? I think we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
Yes, we agree.
Blades are
again,
awesome.
we did blades first. We did, basically what you guys are seeing is we did fire magic and blades first, and so those are the kind of those are the most combos. So not only are they kind of the most balanced, they also have the most combos between the two. So we'll fix that out. We promise.
I will point out though that bludgeons and polearms have like trips and stuff like that are extremely powerful trips and stuns.
Yeah. Trina asks, when will we be getting an attack spell in the Moon Tree?
Hopefully this release.
Yeah.
I've got the 2 Jirs for the 2 that are going in that will be some type of attack, 1 attack and then an AE attack of the sword.
All right, I'm gonna switch back over to grabbing some stuff from chat. I'm just gonna grab some stuff randomly, including a very important one. Striker Sparhawk wants to know what mustache wax brand I use. That's a great question. I will post an Amazon link to the brand I use on the forums. So, because I don't want to broadcast an advertisement.
Wait, that totally breaks forum rules on spam.
Okay. Let's see. Hornpipe asks, why not have a Royal Founder bow armor weapon shape recipe instead of an unbreakable item with no enchants or masterwork? Well, that's kind of what we do have. So you can either have the unbreakable item, or you can break that down and get the pattern that lets you make the item that now is breakable. Because if we let you enchant or masterwork the Royal Founder bow and also leave it so it couldn't be looted and it was unbreakable, then that would be pay to win, since you paid for it, and it would be non-lootable and it would be non-breakable. So we can't let you have both.
Yeah, we never want non-lootable stuff to be top-end gear.
Yeah.
We always want it to be something that is, you can use it and get by with it, but not. But and for those who wanted the summary or came in late, the rule is you can break down one of those things, founder gear, you'll get the pattern, but it's a pattern you can apply to something, and when the item gets down to the point where you don't want to repair it anymore, you can salvage it and get the pattern back. So you can basically keep reapplying that to multiple pieces of gear, and the pattern will last forever.
Just a second. All right. Let's see. Balak Ferris Dakani asks, if an item with an eternal pattern is looted, does the looter get the eternal pattern? Yes, that's the whole point. You sacrifice the non-lootability when you break down the item. So
reminder though that it's not like they get it and you can't stop them. You can always pay the ransom for it. So yeah, that's just one of those things. If you're going to be playing with your super special gear, you better be ready to pay some ransoms.
All right, Scoffer Kata asks, will the future Clockwork monsters be a good source of scrap metal? That's a great suggestion. We should totally do that. We should make that part of their loot package.
I was just looking at loot packages today for them. I made some empty ones. I'll fill them in.
Yeah, so they should totally have some metal in them.
I was going to have them so you skin them and you get scrap metal out of them.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That totally makes sense. You take your little pocket knife and you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Jumping back up into pre-asked questions. Let's see. Wait, I'm trying to find my place again. All right, hold on. Got it. Brass Knuckles wants to know, can we get droppable gold into piles like good old UO?
Eventually.
Yes.
Is the answer.
We actually have the art for this. It's the... I mean, we could make a deco, well, here's the question. Do you care if it's just a decoration, or do you want it to actually be gold? If you just want a deco item that looks like a gold pile, that's easy. If you want a gold pile that's also money, that's hard.
And just a reminder right now, since I know that Violation and some other people do this, you can actually place Kodos as decorations right now. So if you want to have the look of the piles. You can place kodos there. Everybody loves it when you do that and put down hundreds of kodos.
Yeah, no, I keep going to go pick them up.
I mean, because the problem right now is gold is not an actual item. You know, gold, the monetary gold in our game is just an integer attached to your character. It is not an actual item in the game. And so turning it into an item, that would be a fundamental architecture change to the game.
Well, why don't we sell a deco item that is a stack of 100 gold pieces that cost 100 gold pieces?
But having a decorative item that looks like a pile of gold or a treasure
what I just
pile or
That's what I just
whatever
did.
that you could craft, that is quote easy.
Could it-
Incoming.
Could it be sorry. Could it be a deco item that you can put gold in that looks like a pile of gold?
Like a chest that you can put gold coins in.
Yeah, but that looks like a pile of gold because people want fancy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again,
I'm liking the ideas people are having of you can buy a little stack of 100 gold coins for 100 gold and sell it back for 100 gold. Just throw it on a vendor somewhere,
Yeah,
or
that's
merchant
true.
somewhere, and sell
Yeah.
different size stacks.
Make it craftable also. There's no reason not to. So, yep.
all right.
Jarek,
All right, Weberan asks, is adding epic chainmail armor planned? If so, what is the ETA? You know, it's one of those things we put on the back burner a while ago. Yeah, eventually it's not currently, not in the near term, maybe eventually. Let's see, Phil, we already asked this. I think we already talked about.
We talked about a little bit, just having access to stats outside the game. That's still something that is on the very short list. But again, that's one of those where it's the person who needs to do it has a lot of stuff to do already. But that would be having a way that probably what will end up being is that we will give, by request, websites will be able to request access to data, and then they can basically go query data from a metric server, kind of like what we use internally, like what I just pulled up all the information on artifacts and drops. There's a little work that needs to be done, but it's not huge. But we need to basically anonymize some of the data that goes through there. So you can't pull up and say, oh, here's his username and his IP and his everything else, and make it so players can opt in, opt out for things like PvP kills and PvP stuff. But my dream is still that we just expose that to players and then let the players make some of the leaderboards, because then they can do all the hard work for us in terms of displaying offline stuff in the leaderboards. And they can do the queries for, what the top PvP players are, and what items are selling the most, and what towns are the most jumping joints in the entire game. So, and what items are selling, that type of stuff. But anyways, I hope to get that exposed to people, and that would be exposed to websites that want to pull data from it and query from it. We probably wouldn't set up our own front-end exposure to it, just because I know there's a lot of people out there who are running websites and fan sites who really just want access to it. So, anyways, yes, soon. We don't have a exact time.
All right. Wombi asks, to help with player-created quests, can we please have a special container that allows a player to remove only a single item? Yes, it's on our backlog. Definitely want to do that. This is an odder question. We can already buy ghost animal pets. Can we please buy ghost humans?
Maybe ghost children for Richard, for all time's sakes.
oh, yeah.
That is,
Jarek incoming.
that's an odd question. Okay. Dackett asks, how about a condensed recipe log option, maybe a list of recipes still by category, subcategory on the left page, and the select recipe on the right page. Yeah, I mean, we can look at it again at a revamp, another revamp of the recipe book, or a more condensed version of the recipe list. Yeah, we'll consider that. Dackett also asked for the ability to use potions out of a bag during combat. I think this is a similar question to
Yeah, and again, we've already started talking about this. I'm not sure when it will make it in. It's probably less than a week's worth of work, but again, the guy who would be doing it is also crazy busy.
Yeah.
That would be Wizard Smoke. Send him happy thoughts.
Yeah. All right. Aster Cerberus asks, do we intend to unclone all of the clone scenes? And how before a commercial release, and how much uncloning rework will minor non-story scenes get? So, it just remains to be seen. Our priority, of course, is to unclone story-related scenes, which once we get done with the ruins, that will basically complete all of the uncloning of story-related scenes. That's the first priority. The next priority would be scenes that are named on the map, i.e. towns or adventure areas. Then from there, it would be adventure areas. Whether we get every single scene, quote, uncloned, i.e. it's completely unique visual by the time of commercial release, we'll see. They all will certainly get some level of individual attention at some point. That timeline is to be determined. Like for instance, this last release and this release, all the scenes in the Perennial Coast getting unique attention. The only scenes that didn't get it in the Perennial Coast were the PRTs, but even this release, we're going back to those PRTs and making sure they get the Perennial Coast treatment, so they're getting those unique visuals. So yeah, for us, that is a quote level of uncloning that creates unique visuals. So Avatar GG asks, when will ladder animations be implemented instead of current magic teleportation?
Eventually.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah. Eventually not be.
Yeah, and I mentioned that's every time we have a map review on a PvP map, I'm always screaming about avoid teleporters wherever you can, and basically those are teleporters right now. So yeah, we want you to be vulnerable and have to move between places, especially in PvP. But also it's just more immersive, but it allows us to create extra challenges.
All right. Egel asks, when are 6 skull zones coming? So our current plan is actually not to implement many scenes that are between tier 5 and tier 10, but instead go to tier 5s, like we discussed earlier, go back to our tier 5 scenes and add areas inside those scenes that include higher level challenges that are either triggered or that are isolated pockets of challenge. And so that are anywhere between tier 6 and tier 10 level of challenge. So that's the plan now. We don't plan on building specific tier 6 scenes or 6 skull zones. We kind of plan to jump straight over to 10 skulls kind of scenes, like with some lower level mobs in it. Like Crawl and like the Rise are examples of, I would say those are more like 10 skull zones with some lower level stuff inside of them, but that's kind of our plan right now. So and right now, the only real example is Deep Ravenswood, I would say, or some of the like the dragon and some of the bosses in some of the scenes, like the dragon in the desert scene, those kinds of things. But it's using current maps and adding more challenge inside those current maps of higher than tier 5 stuff. Let's see. Daggett asks, any chance the instance dungeons that are solo or party can be synced to character level? We've talked about doing that as sort of a long-term task, but not anytime soon. Yeah,
It's challenging to figure out what level and avoid exploits and spawn the right level without messing you up when somebody leaves the group. So it's not an easy thing.
We have the community here in Discord. We're asking a bunch of great questions that you've been answering, and they also said it's prize time again. They're clocking us on this. I think we have some prizes left over. We've got about 15 minutes left of the live stream. What do we got left, Lum?
Well, let's give them away. Do you want to? Let's go ahead and let's commit to doing one last round before we go, because we got one more cool thing we can give away, but after this round. So this will be the second to the last round. All right.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. So we have Dow with $10 of store credit, Manny with 10 kodos, and finally a set of silver clockwork armor goes to Tane Darkbane.
Nice.
Woo!
Nice shiny silver clockwork armor. That stuff's well, it's shiny. I'll say that, especially at noon in the game.
And now he'll be able to tear it down for a pattern if he wants to and put it on his current armor.
Oh yeah, you'll be able to make your plate armor look like clockwork armor with the pattern system. What? All right. Let's see. Damien asks, are there any awards, titles, medals, items, merchant discounts, for example, planned for those avatars who participate in defeating Siege Kabbalists? Well, thank you for asking, Damien, because we are working on just that very thing to make sieges much more rewarding and challenging at the same time. So there's a few things that are going to go on to make sieges cooler. One of them is related to the catapults themselves. Catapults are no longer just going to be by themselves. Catapults now are going to have a team of engineers around them that operate the catapult, and that team of engineers are high level knobs, much higher than they've been before in that scene. So it's going to be much more of a challenge to defeat those guys and to take out the catapult, to get the Kabbalists to appear at all. And when you defeat those guys, if you manage to take out a catapult, there is going to be a rare drop among those engineers. And that rare drop is a recipe to build a little tabletop model of a catapult, which probably not for R39, but eventually we'll have we'll have a little interaction where you'll be able to double click on it and it'll make a little. The other cool things are the engineers are going to be doing things like. Whether the engineers were around, if you kill all the engineers, the catapult is going to stop firing, and so the quote health of the catapult is determined by the engineers, so they'll quote repair the catapult. So it's going to be a very different strategy related to defeating those catapults.
And that's also going to be another one where I'm going to try to cook up some unique artifacts that will only be available through that scene, or those scenes.
We're also going to, hopefully for 39, but if not 39, definitely for 40, there will be different catapult types. So some catapults will be just sort of the traditional kind of fireball type, but there's going to be catapults that shoot out like sticky blob stuff that slows you down.
Kitten catapults.
No kitten catapults. There will be one, sort of elemental ones that like sort of may shoot like lightning damage things, poison cloud, gas cloud ones. So different catapult types, and those will be randomized, so you're not sure which one you'll be fighting each time. Once you take out all of the catapults and the Kabbalist actually appears, and we'll have, so far we haven't actually had the Kabbalists in the scene, we've just been using liches as the placeholders. we'll actually have the Kobolists for the first time this release, and the Kobolists will be wielding. Each Kobolist will have a unique weapon or piece of armor or gear that they use, and that gear, and they'll have a chance to drop that gear when you kill them. And using the new pattern system, you can salvage that gear and attempt to get a pattern out of it that you can then make, using the pattern system, make weapons using that pattern. So the answer is yes, there's going to be some unique stuff that you can only get out of going and fighting those things. And also the reward packages of the artifacts, the resources, the loot packages out of defeating the engineers in the catapults, the Kobolists themselves will be pretty high reward levels. So we're hoping to make the sieges much more enticing and challenging at the same time than they were before. So really, really, really want people to show up there. And to look forward to sieges, not sort of dreading them, because feels like some people are kind of like, oh, great, a siege. Really want people more excited by them showing up. So let's see. Oh, we only have 8 minutes left. Let's see.
And don't forget, before we wrap up, we save a little time there to circle back and talk about the things that are on Flash.
Oh yeah. So let's see. We'll answer just two. I'm just going to answer a couple more questions and then we'll talk about that. So Bulgarian asked, can we have small versions of potted plants like bonsai? Yes. In fact, we just made those. So we have bonsai versions of all of the trees that you see in the store, trees and plants that you have in the store. And Bulgarian also asks, will the harvestable trees be expanded to multiple tree types instead of the single tree type that we have? In fact, this is the funny thing, it is the same tree that we had in the prototype from the Kickstarter.
Just about the oldest piece of art in the game.
Yeah, it is still the same tree. Yes, we really, really want that to be a unique tree. So.
And also, when I see people in horrible Steam reviews saying negative things and saying 1998 graphics, I know they're talking about that tree.
Really, you think they're talking about the tree?
That tree.
I don't think it's the tree, but sure.
The tree and the fire in that one starting scene.
Okay, I think it's more than just the tree. All right, let's see. One last question, and then we'll go. Maclinos asked the remote bank device. How can I set this up so people kindred to the house can use it but not move a ticket? It needs more permissions, more like a vendor. Yes, we agree. It needs better permission control, especially because it's such a critical thing. So yes, we agree. All right. So just a reminder, new pattern system launching in R39. It's going to be super cool. What that means is gear that you purchased from the store will, some of it, not all of it, but almost all of it, particularly hats and clothes and armor and weapons, can now, you can leave it like it is, which makes it non-lootable, PvP proof, and basically indestructible, or you can salvage it, which destroys it, but that gives you an eternal pattern that you can use in our new pattern system to use in the crafting system, and you can make anything that you've crafted in the game look like that. So again, those of you who want to live the dream and use your wedding dress as a mage robe, you can do that now using our new pattern system. And to celebrate that, we're having a 20% flash sale, 24 hours, started at 3, we'll run until 3 tomorrow, for all the gear and all the items in the game that we hope to have these eternal patterns linked to. And eventually we'll also have pattern packs that you can buy for these items as well. We're also retroactively adding these eternal patterns to even expired content. So all of the pledge items that you guys bought, those are going to have eternal patterns as well. So
Also, prizes. One last round. Okay,
let me finish my sales stuff, and then you can do the prizes. Okay, so patience. Also, we're super excited by the water stuff. We recently launched the water decorations and the new POT water lots. We're also having a flash sale with the water stuff. So the water and the gear, 20% off till 3 p.m. tomorrow. And as part of the patterns, we have a limited time weapon and pattern pack. And currently the only pattern pack that's on the store, because that's all we had time to get up before the postmortem, which is the flamberge, which is a big two-handed sword, which can be used to turn any two-handed sword that you've made in the game into a beautiful ornate flamberge.
I think that's a 6-pack, right?
It's a 6-pack of patterns. So there you go. Prizes, Lum. You can do it now.
Do it now. Do it live. Okay, so we have $10 of store credit going to Zon, 10 Kodos going to Doom, and finally we have a remote bank access device that you can place in your house and get your bank wherever you like, and that goes to Tercia, a remote bank access device worth $30 in the add-on store. And that's all the prizes for today.
I want to do a crazy wild card while I'm talking, Lum. I want to give out 2 more prizes. Can I give out 2 more prizes? To drive you crazy? I want to give out an ornate flamberge and an ornate flamberge pattern pack.
You know you've been specializing in driving me crazy all day today.
Okay, good. I was pointing you to wonderful forum posts. I know you were enjoying yourself. So while you're coming up with the 2 winners for those
I've got
prizes,
2 winners.
Oh, you've already done it.
So, what was the first one? Was the ornate flamberge?
Yes.
All right, that is won by Eniko, Eniko. And what was the second prize?
The ornate flamberge pattern pack.
Patterned, and that's the second prize. Is the pattern pack?
Yeah.
And the ornate flamberge pattern pack is won by Wambi.
Nice.
Woo!
Congrats, everybody. Wow.
All right.
Nice little extras.
So that is all we have time for today. You guys are an amazing community. Thank you for being with us and supporting us, and thank you for the support you guys are showing for Iron Maiden. It's just amazing and emotional to watch all of that. I'm so proud of this community.
Yeah, they have a big event coming up on this
Friday.
10th. Yeah,
Friday. So contribute if you can. If you already have, thank you. And Release 38, I was really excited by. I think it again, like Richard was saying at the top of the hour, it's starting to show this point in the project where we've got enough game systems, enough content in place that we're starting to see a lot of the synergy. We still need to polish, we still need to balance, we still need to fix a bunch of bugs, but that's all achievable stuff, and we can do that, and we can do it with you guys, with your support. And so thank you for being an amazing community. Thank you for your financial support. Thank you for testing the game. Thank you for posting your bugs. Thank you for making jokes about my mustache.
more of those, more community. We need
I don't
more.
think they were joking. They were dead serious. It's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you to the community for all of the events. Like Star said, with Iron Maiden helping him out, and all these other events that you post on a almost daily basis. Things in the game as well. It's exciting to see those, and I just love posting them in the community calendar all the time. And got more to update on that. We also have, if you love watching these live streams and developers coming on to show some cool stuff about the game, we have our community live stream this Friday at 4 o'clock. Now that's going to be right around the point of Iron Maiden's event, so we may cover a little bit of that as well. But we also have coming up the beginning of next month, just over a month from now, on March 9th is a telethon as well. So that'll be the second next major event that we have. That's 12 hours, starts at noon. We're going to have a community hour as usual on that, in-game adventure tour, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm currently chatting with the community on what we should be covering community-wise. So if you have something from the community that we should be covering on that or any other live stream, please let me know. I'd love to include those. Other than that, I just have to say thanks, community. It's a great release, and we're looking forward to the next one.
And I just want to say all the same stuff they said. Thanks. But also I wanted to, before I forgot, I wanted to let people know I'm going to try to get a QA build out a little earlier than normal this release. Because we are hopefully upgrading to a new point release of the engine that we use that will bring some significant performance benefits to players. But as with always when we do these upgrades, sometimes it gets ugly. So hoping to get that up to you guys early so you can tell us yay or nay, and we can actually, the thing we do now is for those who didn't know, we track crashes and we upload crash logs automatically when somebody crashes, so we'll keep an eye on those. That's the main thing we're trying to do, is make sure we don't introduce instability. But
Well, like we always
anyways.
say, best patch ever, or best release ever, I guess it is technically.
Yeah. And then every patch is the best patch ever.
There you go.
But anyways, look forward to that, and also thank you. And I'll leave it at that because I got to get back to work.
Richard?
So you guys already said it all. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your support.
And like I said, I'll be answering Chris and I, because there are a bunch of ones that I don't know if I have the answer to. But Chris and I will be working on answering the questions in the forums. We won't get to all of them today, so it'll probably be by the end of the day tomorrow or first thing Thursday. We should have those all answered and posted in the forums. So
Yeah, we'll put a social mention on
Yeah.
Twitter as well when those go out.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much.